I'm going to make an alcohol stove out of this WD-40 can. It's smaller than the regular size. This is made of tin or something. We don't want to use this. This is a small 3-ounce size can. And the kit that I use when I'm camping is a Snowpeak, which is why I want a smaller stove. I started out using a Venom. I have a video of that. It's pretty big. It's too big for the Snowpeak. I made this can a while back. I have a video of this. And it's a little bit too small for the Snowpeak. It doesn't really balance well on it. You have to use this with a pot stand. And it actually works perfect. You can only put 3/4 of an ounce in, and it's just enough to boil 2 cups of water. But you need a pot stand, and I want no pot stand. I want to just put my pot right on it and cook with it. The simpler, the better. So I'm going to use this can to make a little bit of a bigger stove. This is the stove I made. That's a little too small, and this is the next size up. You can see it's a little bit bigger. Hopefully the flames won't be too big out of this where it goes up the side of the pot as well. My inner wall is going to be out of another aluminum can, a little bit smaller. It's a freeze away thing for a wart. Now they make other cans like this as well. Axe makes a cologne in something like this size. I think there's like a travel size shaving cream can you can use. If you can't get this size, you can always do what I did for the first stove. This was the can. It was a little bit bigger, but I cut the top off of it and then reversed it to stick it in. And for my inner wall, I took a piece of aluminum and from an aluminum can and just rolled it up tight around like a marker so it would spring open, and that just sits inside there. And then this goes in like that, and that's your inner wall for that. So if you don't have another can like this to fit inside, you can make do with just regular aluminum. See, so here's the Venom stove that I made. Now this worked great, but it's really for a larger kit, and it worked good for me. But once I got a new kit to use, all of a sudden I realized I couldn't use my stove anymore. This is a Snowpeak 700, and you can see it fits great on there. But when it's running, the flames are too big and they go all the way up the side here. Everything gets too hot. So that's when I made this stove that I just showed you. And this really does work good. But the problem with this is you really have to balance that just right. And it's a little bit tippy. So I made this pot stand for it out of just aluminum stock I got at the hardware store. And I just bent 2 C's and wrapped some wire around it. And it opens up, you know. Goes over the stove like that. And then that just sits on there. So it worked pretty good. But like I said, really rather not have to use a pot stand. It's one more thing to bring. So we'll make one out of this WD. A little bit bigger. And what you want to do with this is, obviously once you've used it all, you want to, you know, take this off of it. You want to make sure that it's empty. See, you don't hear anything when I'm pressing it. Nothing in it. Completely empty. You don't want to cut into this when it's full. Pressurized can, it could, you know, explode or push fluid all over the place, make a mess. So first thing you want to do is sand it all off. clean it all up. Shiny aluminum. So you can use any way you want to pull the tops off of them. I'm going to use these pliers. You know, don't, point it away from your face when you're doing it. Just in case. That's just popped right off. Then I'll take this off after we cut the can. So that's all good for now. This one here, I don't really know what the deal is with that. We're going to find out though. Okay, so same thing as that. So after we cut into this, we'll remove the rest of it. Right now we're going to sand it. You can sand it any way you want. I like to wet sand it because it keeps the dust down. I'm just going to use a regular sanding block. I mean, you can stand here and sand it like that, but like I said, it can get a little dusty. So I just do it over a sink with the water running and just keep sanding it until it's all gone. So we're all sanded. This is the WD-40 can, and this is the other can that I had, the freeze can or whatever it was. So just decide on how high you want your stove to be. Obviously you don't want to be too high because it'll be tippy. I was going to use a shot glass, but I think that's going to be too high, so I'm going to use this roll of tape right here. And the way I'm going to mark it is I'm going to just lay the marker right on it here, and I'm just going to spin the can. So that's how high the stove is going to be. As far as the top, I'll probably cut it like maybe like 1/4 of an inch or something below that notch. Something, you want to leave a little bit so that when you put the top into this bottom part, it has something to, rest against. So after I got my line on this, I took some tape and just barely touched the line that I made. And I'm going to do the same thing to get my top mark. I'm going to use whatever you can use to get to the height that you want. I'm going to use this here, plus this book, like that, and do the same thing. So there's my mark for that. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the tape. Put blue tape real close to the line. Now that it's all marked off, I'm going to cut on top of this and on top of this. And the best way to do this probably is with a chop saw. But since not everybody has a chop saw, I figured I would do it this way. The reason I tape it too is because when you're putting it there like that, you take a hacksaw and you're cutting it. If you slip, it'll gouge the tape. It won't gouge the metal. So you just take your time cutting it and then rolling the can. Roll it and cut it, roll it and cut it, roll it and cut it until it goes all the way around. You get a nice mark, and then your saw blade will stay in there. And then finish your way through. Nice and slow. This is the part that counts. You want a nice clean cut. So we'll see what it looks like when that's through. And this is what you'll end up with. This is the top of the can, or the bottom of the can actually, top of the tape. The middle piece, and this is the top. when you cut the top off, that's what you'll see. So we'll cut this middle piece out, clean it up, and take a look. You can just sand and work those edges away till they're smooth. And if you have any files, you know, that'll help too. A little faster and better than sandpaper. This one here has like a half round on it, and it fits perfectly. You know, just keep working it. Okay, so I cut the inside of that out. I wasn't happy with just drilling it. I ended up cutting the whole thing. Very similar to that top. The whole inside has been cut out. This is the top to the other container. This is the other container. And that fits right over that. So I'm going to measure on this. You know, put this up here. And then measure, you know, where on here I need to cut it for my inside wall. Alright, so I just cut the top off the smaller container. Exactly how much I'm going to need. And it's going to go on there. So that's going to be my inner part of the stove. Here's the other stove right there. Well, stove. The other piece of the stove. And this right here is going to go inside this. And we're set to put it all together. I'll mark where I want my holes and we'll drill the holes for it. Alright, you want to punch drain holes in the bottom of your inner wall. You can do this with a drill or you can do this with a hole punch. Doesn't really matter, as long as there's something for the alcohol to escape. So I marked it out the same way. I've been marking it with a line and the tape, and this just allows you to keep your holes straight. I think there's about 18 of them there, and I'm going to drill just above the tape where each hole is. And you can alternate your pattern. You can do whatever pattern you want. This is just what I picked for this particular stove. All the holes are drilled. I went with a 5/64 bit. They're pretty even. So now you peel the tape off and put your stove together. Alright, so now we're all ready to put this stove together. Holes are drilled, pretty much sanded out. Same thing, sanded, ready to go. So your inner wall goes on top here, and then your stove goes over it here. And you want to just hammer it down. Block of wood, anything really, and just go around, check it, make sure that it's even. Is it on? Are you filming? Okay. Once it's all together, you want to shake it, make sure the wall's not moving around. And then you can see a little bit here. You can cut that, trim it, sand it down, whatever you want to do. Final touches, sand it all up, make it look nice. Okay, so here it is all sanded, nice and clean, edges all even. And you can go around gently if you see any little burrs in the holes, and just, you know, go around and pick them out. We're pretty much ready here. Your stove's built. All we need to do is test it. So after you get your stove the way you want it, have all the holes drilled, you want to go ahead and drill a couple of holes on the inside in between the two walls. 1, 2, 3, and 4. What this does is allows the stove to vent to avoid flare-ups. Sometimes when the pot's on it, if it's sealed well, the alcohol has nowhere to go and it boils out and it can come out the holes. And when you do this, you can avoid flare-ups like this. And like I said, the goal was to make a stove that balanced well and didn't heat it so bad that I couldn't grab a hold of the handles after the water had boiled. That's probably not a good idea. What just happened? It must have boiled over or something. So that's like super dangerous. I don't know if you can read that or not, but it's graduated for ounces. An ounce of alcohol. Snowpeak 700, 2 cups of water. The cup balance is perfect on the stove. No need for a pot stand. And what's nice about the stove is it doesn't overheat. I can grab the handles. It sounds like it's thinking about boiling right now. Turn the light on and see. 5 minutes and 55, 56, almost 6 minutes. We'll take the lid off at 6 and check it. So 6 minutes. And it's thinking about it. Little tiny bubbles. Leave the lid off. Here we go. So it's not rolling, but you could definitely use that as boiling water. Tea, anything. 6 minutes and 30 seconds. So imagine by 7 minutes, that's gonna be considered a rolling boil. Yeah, 7 minutes. and I'm pretty sure I can grab a hold of this. Without the handles burning me. Let's check it out. Yeah. So they're warm, but you know, not super hot. And that was an ounce, so I imagine we could probably do it less than an ounce, or maybe not.